we get to verse 20, which is Noah, who is a man of the soil, and he plants a vineyard. So I want to pause us here, which is there's an ambiguity also with the verb vayachel Noah, which is Noah began, which I don't know what you've come across, Professor Bergsma. Have you come across various translations of what vayachel could be here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the translation in English that I usually use in teaching actually renders it, he was the first tiller of the soil. I don't think that, I mean, my personal opinion, and we could discuss it, but first of all, I don't think that's the sense of the verse. I think it's just that he began to be a farmer, essentially. He began to be a man of the Adamah, began to be a man of the soil. And that might have a slightly negative connotation. I'm not sure, because Cain was, a worker of the soil as well. I'm not sure, but maybe we should resist reading too much into it initially.
Yeah. Great. I appreciate that. That's really neat. I've come across a few interpretations. One, some people may be familiar with of Rashi, of understanding Chol here being the opposite of Kodesh. So that Noah was on a holy level when he was in the Teva, in the ark, and then he debased himself. He hit land, and he hit land like really hard, and he just debased himself by getting drunk. Like that basically, like, he was on a holy level, and then he got drunk by hitting land, and it was that's one possibility. That's a negative valence to what this word could be.
Right.
There could be another, which is like lahatchil vayitchal, that he began, right? Not chol as in the opposite of kodesh, but hitchil in the hitbael, of the reflexive of he began, which I know you mentioned, Professor Bergsma. This is something that he began doing. He became an ish ha'adamah, that he became a man of the, having been, float literally
Right.
on the sea. This is something he began. It was like an identity transformation he began doing.
Mm-hmm.
A totally different way of reading the beginning aspect is he was the very first. He began to plant a vineyard. That he was the first one to ever do it, and that it could come from his being Ish Ha'adamah, which I also tend to think it either, when you read the Ish Ha'adamah, is it that he began to be an Ish Ha'adamah, or that he had been an Ish Ha'adamah, that he was a man of the earth. And you think about this terrible tragedy of this, like, an earthly person being sent out to sea for weeks on end, but that he, with his knowledge, he was the very first to begin planting vineyards, because we've never seen anybody drink or have a vineyard previous to chapter 9 in Genesis. So he could have been the very first one to institute it.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think there's you could go from the negative of the Rashi read to the more just like he was an agricultural innovator. Like,
right.
there's different valences we can read.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and you have to make your choice in light of the larger context and where you think the narrative's going. Yeah.
Right. And some people like the seeing Noah as getting drunk, as debasing himself. They say, oh yeah, drinking is just about debasing yourself. And they're happy to read this in a negative light, but I think that doesn't jive with everybody's read of this.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.